Good morning, students. My name is Girish Patil. Today, I am an expert teacher for the online session of SS, Social Studies. So, welcome to the online session of Brihanmumbai Municipal Corporation. Today is subject history, and we are going to learn the new chapter. So, let us start the session. So welcome to the online session of Brihanmumbai Municipal Corporation. We are in English medium class. Today's subject is history, and the topic which we are going to learn today is India during the Maurya period. In the first term, we have completed till the Janapadas and Mahajanapadas. And today we are going to continue with the period continuing to Janapadas and Mahajanapadas. So let us see the previous knowledge which we have learned in the previous chapter. So the period which we are going to look here is from 1000 BC to 600 BC. Here the term BC means before Christ, before the birth of the Jesus Christ. This period is known as the post-Vedic period. Or in India, when we study history, this period is considered as the ancient history. So, in 7th standard, we are focusing upon our ancient history. See, here timeline is given, how the time is calculated. The period where the Jesus Christ was born is called as the period where the Jesus Christ was born is considered as 0, and after that the period calculated is Anno Domini. The period before the Jesus Christ means when the Jesus Christ was not born, the period before that is termed as before Christ or before the common era. So this is the period which we are looking in this chapter. See, we have learned that there were 16 Mahajanapadas. Kamboj, Gandhar, Kuru, Matsya, Sursen, Panchal, Kosla, Malla, Vriji, Anga, Magad, Kashi, Vatsa, Chedi, Avanti, Ashmaka. All these were 16 Mahajanapadas. So what we are going to learn in this chapter? We are going to learn that India had established relations with the Greek and Iran, and how that led to the mutual exchange between India and these countries. During the Janapadas and Mahajanapadas, we have already learned that there were trade relations between India and the foreign countries. So how India get the relations with Greece and Iran, and the mutual exchange of the culture, of the items, what was there, and what were the things influencing, we are going to learn in this new chapter. To learn about the well-run administration of Maurya period. See, we saw that during the Janapadas and Mahajanapadas, there were some rulers who were disappointing their subjects, means who were not taking the responsibility of their subjects very well. After the decline of the Janapadas and Mahajanapadas, the last empire which declined were Magad Empire. And after the Magad Empire was declined, the new empire, Maurya Empire, was being established. So we are going to learn about the administration of the Maurya Empire in this chapter. To learn about the work undertaken by the Emperor Ashoka for the welfare of the subjects. Here we are going to learn about the important ruler in the Maurya Empire, that is Emperor Ashoka, and how Emperor Ashoka look after the welfare of his subjects, after the people. Means this Maurya kingdom is considered to be one of the responsible kingdom who are taking the welfare of, who are looking after the welfare of their subjects. So that we are going to learn in this chapter. About the ancient India art and literature. We are also going to learn about the ancient India art and literature. This Maurya period, the remains of the Maurya period are prominently seen in India. So we are going to get an idea about the art and literature of this Maurya period also. So what are the 2 points we are going to learn in this chapter mainly? The first is the influence of the foreign country, that is the Greek Emperor Alexander. During the decline of the Magad Empire, Alexander was the king who was on his mission to conquer the world. So he reached India during this period only. At the starting of the Maurya period, Emperor Alexander reached India. And what happened in India, we are going to learn about that. Then the second part, which we are going to learn about, fully about the Maurya Empire and the kings in the Maurya Empire. So in the previous knowledge, we have learned that there were 16 Janapadas. In between that 16 Janapadas, the 4 powerful Mahajanapadas were there: Kosla, Vatsa, Avanti and Magad. And the last empire, the Magad, was very powerful. But the king of Magad was not so responsible, and hence led to the decline of the Magad Empire. In this slide, we are going to learn about some international happenings at that time. Means when the period when Magad Empire was declining, and some things were happening for the decline of the Magad Empire, and Maurya Empire was going to establish. What happened at that period? International things which were happening which had the influence on India. What were the international things were happening at that time? The first point, in the 6th century BCE, a king named Cyrus has established vast empire in Iran. This empire extended from the northwest India to Rome to Egypt in Africa. See, the king named Cyrus. Here, the first picture is showing the image of the king, Cyrus. He was one of the powerful king of the foreign nation at that time. He established his kingdom and expanded it from northwest India to Rome and Egypt in Africa. These were the countries he conquered, and he expanded his power. Around 1518 BCE, an Iranian emperor named Darius have conquered the region of the northwest of India up to Punjab. See the second picture, Darius the Great. He was also a Persian king, and means the Iranian empire is also termed as Persian Empire at that time. This is the term Persian emperor. So this king Darius have conquered the region of the northwest of India up to Punjab. Means this king, while flourishing their empire, while extending their empire, they reached India till Punjab. Darius have recruited some soldiers from this area into the army. He learned about the form of writings of the Greek historians. We also come to know about how the Darius reached India, and he included the Indian people into his army. All these things we come to know about the Greek historians after reading the writings of the Greek historians. Political relations between India and Iran were established during the reign of the Emperor Darius. This led to the great exchange in the field of the trade and art. We know that whenever the king extends his empire, he comes to the another country, then there is a give and take of the items. Means the things are being taken to his country, and the things which he brings with him, he distributes that things into the extended area where he conquers the area. In the same way, he gets contact with the people living in that area. The give and take of art, literature, culture is been taken place, which we come to know by reading the history of that period. Then Emperor Darius have introduced the uniform currency called Darik. See, this was the period where the use of the currency and coins was there. Means these kings were the where the rulers who forced who were in the mentality to change the economical system. So this Darius king was using a minted coin, which is called Darik, in all the parts of the empire. Before that, there was the barter system was more prominently used in the economic, that give and take of goods. But some of these kings were focusing upon the use of the coins, focusing upon the use of the currency. So we come to know that the Iranian kings, that is Darius and the Cyrus, were extending their power, and they reached till India, the province of Punjab. See, in this map, I have shown you this Iran. The kingdom over here is also termed as Persian Empire. This Darius and this Cyrus, these kings were from this area. Then the minted coin, that Darik, this minted coin is also shown in this picture. Let us move to the next slide. The Greek Emperor Alexander's invasion. See, in this first map, we are seeing that what was the route from where the foreign rulers entered India. See, this part, this Kamboj, the Hindu Kush mountain, there was a route to enter India. So most of the kings who were invading India, they used to come through this path only. Means this part is in Pakistan. Nowadays, this part is in on Pakistan and Afghanistan boundary. So this was the route from where the King Alexander invaded India. Alexander the Great Emperor invaded India northwest frontier in 326 BCE. Crossing the Indus River, he reached Takshashila. On the way, he met with forceful oppositions from the local Indian kings. He defeated them all and successfully reached to Punjab. There were many small kings in his path. He conquered all of them and he reached till Punjab, crossing the Indus and Sindhu river. See, you can see here the Sindhu or Indus river is there. Right from there, he entered India. He conquered small kings in his path and he reached till Punjab in India. However, in the invasion, his army had to suffer several hardships. The soldiers were eager to go back home. They rebelled against the Alexander and he was forced to turn back. We all know that King Alexander was from Greek. He was a Greek king and he was on the mission to conquer the whole world. While he was on the mission to conquer the whole world, King Alexander reached India. But until he reached India, he conquered a very huge path. So the soldiers were very tired and the soldiers were in the mood to go back to their homes and to meet their families. They rebelled against him, not to go further. We will go back, we will meet our families, and then again we will come back. The soldiers forcefully said Alexander the same thing. He therefore appointed Greek officers to administer the conquest territories. They were called strapas. So Alexander had to listen to his soldiers and he decided to go back to meet his family in the Greek. So wherever he conquered the territories, he appointed some officers over there and he called them as the strapas. The strapas were ordered to look after the area until Alexander comes back. He started his return journey but died on the way back in 1323 at Babylon. Today's Babylon is in Iraq. When he was returning back to Greece, in the middle, he was suffering a lot due to the bad health. He died at Babylon. This Babylon is in Iraq nowadays. Alexander's campaign led to an increase in the trade between India and the Western world. See, when Alexander came from Greek to India, he conquered many territories, and thus the people used to come to know about the different areas beyond India. People came in the contact of the foreign countries. This led to the increase in the trade. The historians who accompanied Alexander introduced India to the Western world through their writings. When Alexander was coming to India, he was carrying a huge army with him. Also, there were the historians. Also, there was the artisans with him. They came in contact with India. The traders also used to come to different parts of the world, and they came to know about India, and thus increase in the trade between India and the foreign countries. Greek sculpture influenced Indian art, giving rise to the Gandhar school of arts. Greek culture. See, sculpture. Sculpture means the formation of the statues, the formation of the buildings. This is all sculpture. So when Greek people came to India, they came in contact with India. They learned the Indian sculpture. Also, they influenced their Greek sculpture in India. This gave rise to the Gandhar School of Arts. A new university was formed in India, that was Gandhar School of Arts, influenced by Greek sculpture. The Greek king minted characteristics coin. On one side, the coin have picture of the king who had minted the coin, and the other side picture of the Greek god. The name of the king was also written on the coin. Alexander coin was of the same type. In your textbook, you can see the Alexander coin is shown. One side is the picture of King Alexander, and other side shows the picture of the deity or the god, the Greek god. So in the second picture, you can see the photo of King Alexander. He was a very ambitious king, and he was on the mission to conquer the world, but he was not successful. And while returning back to Greece, he died at Babylon. After the death of King Alexander, some things were happening in India too. The Magad Empire, which was the powerful empire at that time, had the last ruler, Dhananand. See, in the first picture, you can see extreme right, you can see this ruler, he is Dhananand, representing the Dhananand. So what happened? Dhananand was not a good ruler, and hence a Chandragupta, a boy named Chandragupta, rebelled against Dhananand and established his own empire, that is Maurya Empire. So what happened there? We are going to see. Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya founded the Maurya Empire. People were tired of the tyrannical rule of Nanda king of Magad, Dhananand. Chandragupta bought into to the end and established his own rule in Magad around 1325 BCE. In my last lesson, in my last online lesson of Janapadas and Mahajanapadas, I have explained you in detail how this Chandragupta was the son of a slave. He was the son of the slave, but he was a very ambitious boy, and he understood how the king Dhananand was making ruin their life, making ruin the life of the people. So Chandragupta, with the help of Chanakya, Guru Chanakya, he ambitiously established his own army, and he attacked Dhananand, and he put into the end of the Magad Empire, and he established his own empire called Maurya Empire. He won Avanti and Shurasastra and began to extend the boundaries of his empire. Chandragupta was also a powerful king, and he also expanded his empire by conquering the nearby territories. After Alexander's death, when Chandragupta became the king and Alexander was going back, Alexander faced death at Babylon. But after the death of the Alexander, a struggle for power began among the Strapas. Alexander appointed some Strapas at the conquered territories, and the person who was appointed at different places, there was the fight again amongst them. Everyone wanted to become the emperor, so they were fighting against each other. Seleucus Nicator was the Alexander's general. He became the king of the Babylon. The most powerful Strapa among them was the Seleucus Nicator, and he became the king of Babylon. Where Alexander died, Seleucus Nicator became the king over there. After Alexander's death, he invaded the northwest frontier of the region of India and Punjab, and immediately Seleucus Nicator decided to again extend the empire and entered into India. Chandragupta Maurya successfully resisted his aggression. When Seleucus Nicator came to Punjab, Chandragupta Maurya was the king of Maurya Empire, and he was very powerful at that time. And Chandragupta fought with Seleucus Nicator, and he defeated Seleucus and lead to the inclusion of the northwest region of Kabul, Kandhar, Herat, and Maurya in the Maurya Empire, and he extended the Maurya Empire. See, the second picture is showing you the representation picture of Seleucus Nicator. After Alexander, he himself became the king over there. Then this slide, Megasthenes, Seleucus Nicator ambassador, stayed back at Chandragupta's court. When Chandragupta defeated Seleucus, the Megasthenes, who was the ambassador of Seleucus, remained at the court of Chandragupta Maurya. His book Indica is an important source of the study of India during the Maurya period. A historical book, a very important book. The name of the book is Indica, written by Megasthenes, is very important because this book represents the relation of the Greek with India. There is an inscription stating that Emperor Chandragupta have built a dam called Sudarshan near Junagadh. This Junagadh is in Gujarat, and Chandragupta Maurya built a dam, Sudarshan, named Sudarshan near Junagadh. Vishakadatta. See, here we are going to see about the prominent writers who have wrote about Chandragupta Maurya. If you want to learn more about, if you want to know more about Chandragupta Maurya, we have to refer historical books. So which are these historical books which will give us more information about Chandragupta Maurya? The first one was Indica, written by Megasthenes, and the second writer, Vishakadatta, he was the Sanskrit prayer writer, and he wrote a book called Mudra Rakshasa. It relates how Chandragupta Maurya defeated Dhananand and established an independent power. See, nowadays we can see that serials are being made about Chandragupta Maurya. So how the serial writers come to know about this king, about the life of the king? So these serial writers have to refer these historical books. In future also, if you want to know, learn more about Chandragupta Maurya, we can refer these historical books. Mudra Rakshasa, written by Vishakadatta. The plot given special importance to the contribution of the Arya Chanakya, also known as Kautilya. See, Chandragupta was a very common boy. He was the son of a slave. But Chanakya was the Acharya. Chanakya is also known as Kautilya. He supported Chandragupta Maurya in his ambition, and Chandragupta, with the help of Chanakya, became the emperor of India. According to the Jain tradition, it is believed that Chandragupta Maurya have accepted the Jain religion. So this Janapadas and Mahajanapadas was the period where Buddhism and Jainism was in a great trend, and it has been believed that Chandragupta Maurya accepted the Jain religion at the end of his life. Towards the end of his life, he abdicated the throne and spent his remaining years at Shravana Belagola in Karnataka. Means Chandragupta Maurya at the end of his life abdicated, means he left his throne and he went to live a very simple life, and he went in Karnataka, Shravana Belagola. This is the place in Karnataka, and where he spent his last moments of the life. This was where he breathed his last. So in this way, we have covered the part of King Emperor Alexander and establishment of the Maurya Empire, and we look about some important points of Chandragupta Maurya. In the next chapter, we are going to learn about the successors of Chandragupta Maurya, Emperor Ashoka. Emperor Ashoka is the prominent king in our history because he have done a lot of influential work in India. So in the next chapter, we are going to learn about Emperor Ashoka and his art and his contribution in the field of art and literature in India. So thank you all of you. We will meet in the next session with another part of this chapter.